Okay, a follow-up to my video on the Core64 active core memory project. I wanted to display this on the wall of my office somewhere in a way that I could use it while it's being displayed, but easily take it off and use it in a handheld mode. I thought about putting it in some sort of shadow box like I've done for some of my other projects. And I couldn't see a good way to do it without making it very grandiose and I think overwhelming to the actual artifact here. So I've decided to just put up a simple painted board that'll be screwed into the drywall, and then have a couple of hooks that will engage these slots on the back, which are originally intended to hook a lanyard or a neck strap so you could carry it around your neck at trade, computer trade shows and things like that. I think that's what they're for. And then I'm going to put a piece of acrylic over here and made it flush with this. And there are 4 holes that I can put standoffs in. I have only one of these left in stock, so I've ordered a bunch more from DigiKey. That part will have to wait until those arrive, but in the meantime I can put the board together that this is going to be attached to. So here's what I have in mind. There's going to be the backboard somewhere in the area of 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch thick. I'll have it painted black. It'll be screwed to the wall in 2 places using just simple screws into plastic drywall anchors. It's not going to be carrying much weight. Here's the backboard of the Core64. I'm going to have those 4 spacers on there using 440 hardware. Here's the actual core panel of the Core64, and where the dotted line is, I'm going to have a piece of acrylic. I've got some scrap laying around that'll work perfect for that. I'm going to have, you can hear the sump pump running. It's been thunderstorming here and everything is sopping wet. Anyway, the acrylic is 3/32 inch thick, and it's 3/4 of an inch exactly from the top face of this board to the top of this. So I'm going to use 3/4 inch female spacers and just trim a little bit off the top to account for the thickness of the acrylic, and it should end up being pretty much flush with this panel, and it'll just cover that exposed area up. There won't be anything on the sides. The batteries fit in between here and form a block, so I'm not too worried about dust getting in there. And nothing's substantial is going to come in from the sides, so I think that'll work. And then I'm going to put in a couple of wire hooks that normally have threads on them. I'm going to cut that part off and just glue them into holes so that the slots here can hook onto those, and it'll just hang in front of the backboard. So I figured out that I need to make it a little bit bigger because some of the holes are right on the edge of the circuit boards. I don't want them that close to the corners of the backboard. So I'm going to make it 7 inches by 3 5/8, and I'm going to go with a 3/8 inch thick backboard. I'm thinking I'm just going to use some scraps of this select pine that I had from a recent instrument case making job. Used it for the frame of the case. I'm going to make this a little thicker and then plane it down for appearance and even thickness. To get it to be 3 5/8 inch wide, I'm going to have 3 of these side by side, and cut 3 pieces lengthwise that are a little over 7 inches long, and then trim to exact dimensions. A bit of an aside on this video, and it having very little to do with this video, but I know a lot of my viewers have asked, when am I going to take another train trip and so on. Well, I didn't have any planned. I still don't have any planned. And Actually, yesterday I was supposed to get on a plane and go to Scotland for 2 weeks, but there were complications with the event I was going to, and it seemed like it was not a good idea to proceed with it, so I did not go, and instead I'm here at home rattling around trying to do odd jobs. But in the meantime, I'm pondering how to use the money I got refunded from my very expensive flights and roll those into perhaps another train trip. So, patience. Okay, that's dried, but of course it sagged a little, as I knew it would, and the epoxy soaked into some places and beat it up in others. So what I'm going to do here is sand it and then apply one more thin coat of epoxy. Okay, the piece of wood is ready for painting. It's all sanded down and everything. The ends are nice and smooth. So I've got these little brass hooks here, the kind that you normally just screw into a cupboard or something like that to hang I don't know what on. And the idea is to have these hooks, see if I can do this in camera. So there's the hook, and there's this, and then it drops down like that. So I need to mark the wood where I need the shafts here to go, and then I'll cut the rest off, drill the holes, and epoxy them in there. Okay, so I've got both of these hooks trimmed. I have corresponding diameter holes drilled in the wood at the appropriate places, and these are just a snug fit I can wiggle in there. And I made up a couple of shims I'm going to put under there, and then push these hooks down like that. That should be the distance that they work out well. It's a little snug there. What I want to do is now make sure with that spacing that they do drop on there and slide down, that they're not too loose. I guess that's about right. I want a little slop there. I think that's about right. So I'm going to keep that same shim size. Okay, a little bit of CA glue into the holes. The glue might have already set up on me. Going in there harder than I thought. I think it probably has cured. Yeah, I think maybe, but I can probably wiggle it loose. There we go. So I'm thinking that putting the CA glue in the hole first isn't the greatest idea, but all I really want to do is keep these from walking out, so I think I can apply it after the fact. Okay, I've got them set again. This time I'm just going to try to put the CA glue around the bottom and let it wick in a little bit. There we go. think that's about all we should need. So I have some number 6 flathead sheet metal screws and some nice nylon drywall anchors, and they don't need to go in there terribly far to hold this light weight, so I figure by the time I countersink those, that'll be enough grip into the plastic here. So I just need to locate and drill the holes for those to go through, but I want them to be a little bit inboard. Maybe I'll put one above the other, that might be best, so that they'll be hidden by the Core64. Okay, countersunk holes, and just a little final dedusting, and this should be ready for paint. Okay, everything's set up for painting. I'm just going to go ahead and paint these brass hooks because I don't really want the brass color there, and with the enamel I'm using, they should hold up reasonably well to the small number of cycles of putting the Core64 on and off of them. And if they do get scraped up, it'll be on the back side where it doesn't show. So cosmetically, I think it'll be best if the whole thing is black. And I've just got a can of Rust-Oleum satin protective enamel, black. That's what I'm going to use for this. Progress is being made. I've got the 3rd coat on there, and while I've got the paint can out, I decided to give a couple of quick and sloppy coats to the little jig I made to hold the rear wheel of my Catrike recumbent tricycle off the ground when I'm cleaning the chain. It's just been bare wood, and decided to give it a little paint. Have to remember to paint the screw heads so they won't stand out too much. I've got the 2 screws plus the spare. Okay, there's the painted wall bracket. Came out pretty decent, I think. I've been kind of vacillating on what to do with the 2 magnetic styli. Originally I wasn't going to have them be part of this wall hanger, but I've changed my mind. So I've decided I'm just going to put these 2 hooks, same kind of hooks I had up here, and the styli have coat pocket hooks, which will just engage with those, and they can just hang on the sides. I've put those in there already. I've put a spot of super glue on them to stabilize them, although they're press fit, they're in there pretty good. I just need to touch them up with some black paint. And also, along with the kit, a couple of these nice labels came. Unfortunately, it's too wide. I thought about this before, but I didn't want to make the back that much wider. So I think if I cut off the I/O so it's not the website, I can keep the logo and the 64, and it'll be just about right. So I put on the Core64 label on here now. So I've put some paint on these brackets here, and there's still a couple of spots on here near the corners where the paint is still slightly tacky, so I think I'm going to put my heater fan on this and try to get that to cure a little more thoroughly. Okay, I've marked out a piece of acrylic to use to cover up this area. So I'm going to use the scoring and breaking technique on this instead of the saw because I want a cleaner edge. I usually use the bandsaw if I'm building a picture frame and need an acrylic window in it, because the edges will be hidden by the frame, but here they'll be exposed. So I'm going to go with the scribing and breaking method. Okay, I've marked this for drilling. Okay, I'm going to be stepping this up through a couple of different sizes because some of the holes are really close to the edge out of necessity. And hopefully I don't crack the acrylic. Looks like it lines up pretty well with the holes. Shouldn't be a problem. But I do want to round off the corners on this because it looks kind of funny. So I'll be rounding off these two corners. Okay, the acrylic piece is made with the 4 holes, and it'll go on the front side, but just for alignment purposes. Looks like it'll be fine. I have some spacers that are supposed to be delivered today from DigiKey. Some nice nylon spacers, and they're 3/4 inch long and already tapped for 440 because I'm going to be using black anodized 440 button head hex drive screws to put all this together. And so I'm going to have to cut 3/32 of an inch off the ends of those spacers, which should be fine because they're supposed to be tapped all the way through the length. I shouldn't have to re-tap them. And then that should fit about perfectly, and the acrylic panel should fit flush with the top of this guy here. Provide some protection. I was thinking about using my other Core64 label, but really the point of this is to be able to see the circuitry. I don't want to blot it out with a big label, and it says Core64 up here anyway, and here. That's enough advertising. So now I just have to wait for the DigiKey delivery. Meanwhile, the back panel there is baking in the 72-degree exhaust of my heater fan, and hopefully in a couple hours that'll be a lot drier than it was this morning. Alright, my DigiKey order came in. I've got my 440 threaded hex standoffs, 3/4 inch long, 1/4 inch body. I've already put them in a bag, just the ones I need, with some short 440 black anodized button head hex drive screws. Okay, there are the standoffs cut down to height. I have to twist this one around yet. It got rotated when I was tightening the screws. There those are. Okay, there's that on there. Came out well with the flush level on the front. And I did not put a hole in there to push the reset button on the Teensy controller, but I don't anticipate having to push it. If it turns out where I need to on a more regular basis, I'll pull this off and drill a hole to allow poking a paper clip through there or something like that. Well, I've got this down here. I think I'm going to pry the core module and the LED module off so I can get at the batteries and change them with some energizers. Lithium cells, much less likely to leak than these things, and they would probably dribble everything down here and ruin it, so I like the idea of lithiums in here. Okay, the core board is off now for the LED matrix. Look at that son of a gun. I should have bought AAA's, not AA's. This is more like it. Okay. These are trash. LED boards on top of the batteries again. Set my diffuser paper down there, and the front's back on. Seems like everything's working again. Okay. There's the board. And then I can hang one of the styli. So there are the two styli clipped into their positions. There we go.